Hi guys, welcome to Sonika Talkies. I create content about Bollywood on Instagram and TikTok primarily, but I'm also trying to grow my YouTube account because I'm in between jobs right now and I want to grow all of my social media as much as I can right now so that, when I don't have the time to do so, I can just sort of post there. So one topic that I recently talked about, and I try to delve into this as much as I possibly can, is brown women and sexuality and how like it is there's a lot of nuances and intricacies when it comes to that topic. And I don't see a lot of discussions about it either, so I try to talk about this, and today I wanted to just do a long form video about this because I also personally enjoy long form content when you're just like driving or doing something and you can just play it and just let it, you can listen to what they're saying. So I decided to do a long form video about this topic. So it's safe to say that sexuality is a very taboo subject when it comes to brown women. It is not safe in brown society and culture to for women, especially, and also men, to be seen as sexy because I think that brown culture has really misunderstood sexual energy. Our ancestors knew this pretty well because they knew that there is a lot of energy and creative energy when it comes to sexual energy. So there was a lot of tantric stuff, and they studied this very very well. But as we progressed, we have started to look down upon people who have a lot of sexual energy. So as a result, what has happened is that women do not feel safe to be seen, and they don't even like express that side of themselves. It's very, very repressed in society in general. And especially when I was younger, I could really, like, now that I look back, I can tell that it was just, feminine energy also was seen as very weak energy. So as a result, like when you're young, you sort of associate being feminine, like wearing dresses, wearing makeup, to being weak. And you will see that a lot of young girls want to dress as tomboys and they sort of reject femininity altogether because they realize that feminine women are seen as weak people, and also it's unsafe to be feminine or sexy in our society. So like as you kind of grow, and especially for me, like when I moved to the US, I was 18 years old. That's I think when I started realizing that feminine, like if you are to dress as a very feminine girl, like if you are to wear a dress, that doesn't really mean that you are a weak person. Like that's actually a really powerful energy too. And that association also came much later for me. And I see this very often. Like I see this with, young girls in my own life where they sort of reject femininity altogether. You'll see that in different societies. Like I have specially paid attention to Latin societies and Hispanic societies where like women express their sexuality very freely. They are accepted like for their sexual nature. Like there you will see that their dancing is really fun. Their the way they dress, like they're open and they're free to explore, and kind of they don't have to hide it the same way that we do. And the irony of this is like even when you're hiding and repressing that side of your self, you're not expressing your sexuality in terms of clothing, and you're really, really repressed. It doesn't really protect you. So, and that's where the saying comes like, even if you're wearing a burqa, you can still, you know, be a prey to vultures because it's not really about the piece of clothing you're wearing. It's more to do with the attitude people have in terms of like, power dynamics and all of that. Like came across in TikTok actually last year about the color pink theory, which affirms what I was talking about, earlier about women rejecting femininity because they associate it with weakness. So the color pink theory actually says that, as women are, find themselves in a safer space when it comes to like maybe they found a healthy partner, or they like changed the environment and they were living in, they start to like pink again. And it's a very interesting thing because I myself also went through this. Because when I was young, I used to say that I hate pink because pink is, just very readily associated with being girly and just, being very feminine. And I used to say that my favorite color is purple, which it still is, but I just, hesitated so much from saying that my favorite color is pink. It was also probably just the rebellious side, rebellious kid in me. But like it's an interesting theory because the more you heal and the more you find yourself in a safer space, you tend to express your feminine side, your sexual side a little bit more because you feel comfortable to do that. And this theory becomes very, very interesting because when you, like, as you tend to get older, you also realize that women who are not feminine, women who completely reject femininity, are also looked down upon. So there is really no winning in this sense because, girls will start wearing like wearing tomboyish clothes and sort of hiding their femininity altogether. I was just reading comments in one of my videos I made in TikTok that a girl said that she used to go to lengths to hide her boobs and make it like look smaller than they really were. And I think it's a very common thing a lot of girls do. And girls want to be perceived cute. They don't want to be perceived as sexy because that would just put another tag on them. Because the society looks down upon sexy women. Like they would just be seen as low class or like, trashy. Like these are the words that are used for sexy people. And even in professions, like especially in Bollywood, you will see that the sex symbol tags are only and only reserved for outsiders. Like I was talking about this, and I was saying that Janvi Kapoor was recently talking about how she refuses to be sexualized by the audience. And part of it is also because she's an industry kid. Like she knows that the industry does not, it's not the safe place. Or like actresses who are sexualized in that way just do not have any longevity because the audience looks down upon them, the industry, producers, directors, everyone looks down upon them. So it's also a professional choice for them. And it's also the same way in society. Like if a woman is extremely sexy and she refuses to hide that about themselves, it just becomes a very uncomfortable experience for her and for people around them because we as a society do not know what to do with sexy women. So there goes all of the expression, a sense of expression that women have. Like so, what happens when women decide that they want to repress their sexuality and they want to hide it? So, sexual energy is also creative energy. Like, it's also a lot of healing energy. But most women never really explore that side of themselves because they never feel safe to do so. And in the spiritual world, sexual energy is also said to be like a sign that you have spiritual gifts. Like people who have intense sexual energy most often have spiritual gifts that they have been given that they haven't really used it, or they haven't discovered it about themselves yet. And until and unless they tap into that gift and start using it, they will inevitably have that intense sexual energy inside them. And when you repress it, it doesn't really like it's you can't hide something like that. Like it's just there. I think everyone is aware that you have that energy inside you, especially people who are vultures or people who are, I don't know, like, weird people tend to know this about people. And women who go to lengths to hide their sexual nature and just sort of dress up in tomboyish clothes also are punished by society. So like, there's this short movie I watched and it has Konkona Sen Sharma and Aditi Rao Hydari. It's called Gilli Pucci and it's about like caste discrimination, but there's also another layer of discrimination added there, which is like the society punishing Konkona Sen Sharma for not being feminine enough. And I also myself experienced this. Like, it's sort of like pretty privilege, but it's feminine privilege. So, like, if you're wearing a dress and if you go out, people will inevitably open the doors for you. I experienced this myself. If you're probably dressed up a little bit like tomboyish, a lot of people won't give you that same kind of treatment, you know? So in this series, what happens is that Konkona Sen Sharma has the same job as Aditi Rao Hydari. And Aditi Rao Hydari is dressed in her kurtas and salwars, and Konkona just wears like a big old shirt, you know? And the boss of both of them, Konkana Sen Sharma, is asked to lift heavy objects because, like, they sort of associate her with being manly, I guess, because she dresses a little bit manly. So, and the same, you know, person, and like another person who has the same job, who is also of a higher caste, so I'm sure that also played a role here, but is also dressed in very feminine ways, treated like a child, you know. And I know that there is a layer of caste discrimination in this series, and a lot of people point that out when I try to talk about this. But even if you take that part away, you will see that this happens, you know, with two girls who are dressed, maybe one is girly and the other is not. You will see that there will be a difference in how the society treats you, you know. So I personally have observed that. So that's why I'm telling you guys. So I feel like there's a lot of intricacies. Sexual energy is, you know, vastly misunderstood in brown culture. Like, especially you'll notice that as women get like age, or as women get older, society also expects them to be asexual. You know, like a woman who is in her 40s or 50s, if she becomes a widow, or if she is divorced, or if she is still single, the society does not allow them, or like it's almost, you know, sort of expected that they're not going to have any sexual desires. Like if a man is divorced or single or widowed, in his 40s or 50s, they almost always get married again, or they will have a partner. So it's, you know, men are seen as sexual beings, but women after a certain point are just, you know, expected to be asexual because they are this motherly figure. So, you know, society refuses to look at them in a humane lens. And the trickiest thing about all of this, and the saddest thing I think, is like human beings are sexual beings, you know. So when you are not safe, you are not you do not feel safe to express that side of yourselves, you're also in a way rejecting that side of your humanity. You are abandoning your own self, you are abandoning your own desires because you don't feel safe to do so, you know. And all the women who do, like, I think one name that keeps coming up in my head is Malaika Arora, who is in her 50s, and you know, she is defying all the rules of aging and dating, you know, because she's dating younger men. And you know, loses their mind. Like, if you go and look at her Instagram and look at the comments, all of the comments are about like humiliating her for being so old and dating younger guys, and how dare she go out and wear these kind of clothes. And I feel like there's a lot of that because people just cannot fathom that a woman in her 50s is still sexually active, or like she is still, like, you know, dressing up sexy. Like, people expect you to sort of retire in a way, you know, from like, I don't know, like expressing yourself or being a sexual being. I think they forget that a lot of people who are in their 80s or their 70s who are happily married are still having sex. I mean, I feel like it's just like people completely do not want to acknowledge that at all, you know? Anyways, I just feel like this is a topic that we should have more conversations about. I know that this is very taboo, but please tell me in the comments what's your experience been, and I would love to make more videos about topics like this.